Marcus never expected Tuesday morning to shatter everything he thought he knew about his boss. The boardroom doors had just closed when Victoria turned to him, panic flickering across her usually composed face. Her elegant black dress had betrayed her at the worst possible moment, the zipper completely stuck just minutes before the most important presentation of her career. "Marcus, please," she whispered, desperation creeping into her voice. "I can't go in there like this." His hands trembled slightly as he worked to free the stubborn zipper. The fabric was delicate, expensive. One wrong move could ruin everything. But as he gently tugged at the mechanism, his fingers brushed against something hidden in her coat pocket. A folded letter fell silently to the floor. Marcus glanced down and froze. The company letterhead was unmistakable. But it was the signature at the bottom that made his blood run cold. Her fiancé's name was scrawled across a resignation letter that could destroy them all. Marcus quickly slipped the letter back into Victoria's coat pocket, his heart hammering against his ribs. The zipper finally gave way under his careful touch, sliding smoothly into place just as the boardroom doors opened again. "Ready?" Victoria asked, straightening her shoulders. She had no idea her world was about to crumble. He nodded, unable to trust his voice. How could he tell her that her fiancé was planning to abandon her company? How could he explain that he'd accidentally invaded her privacy? The presentation went flawlessly. Victoria commanded the room with her usual grace, securing the biggest contract in company history. Marcus watched from the corner, the weight of the secret crushing his chest with every breath. That evening, he sat at his kitchen table, helping his 6-year-old daughter Zoe with her homework. Math problems that should have been simple felt impossible when his mind kept drifting to Victoria's trusting smile. "Daddy, you're not listening," Zoe complained, tapping her pencil against the table. "Sorry, sweetheart." He forced himself to focus on her addition problems, but the resignation letter haunted every number. His phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. "Still at the office. Could use your help with the Morrison files." Marcus stared at the message. Victoria never worked this late unless something was wrong. He glanced at Zoe, already rubbing her tired eyes. 20 minutes later, they arrived at the empty office building. Zoe curled up on the lobby couch with her tablet, while Marcus rode the elevator to the executive floor. His hands felt clammy against the cold metal rails. Victoria's office glowed with warm lamplight. She sat behind her massive desk, still in that black dress, hair slightly mussed from running her fingers through it. She looked smaller somehow, more human than the corporate powerhouse he'd worked for over 2 years. "Thank you for coming," she said softly. "I know it's late. It's no problem." Marcus settled into the chair across from her. "Rough day?" Victoria's laugh was hollow. "Something like that." She gestured at the scattered papers covering her desk. "Adrian's been distant lately. I keep wondering if I'm losing my touch." Adrian. Her fiancé's name felt like poison in Marcus's ears, the man planning to steal her clients and destroy everything she'd built. "You're brilliant," Marcus said before he could stop himself. "Anyone who can't see that is blind." Victoria looked up, surprise softening her features. "That's kind of you to say." Their eyes met across the polished wood, and Marcus felt something shift between them, something dangerous and wonderful and terrifying all at once. "Marcus," she began, her voice uncertain, "do you ever feel like the people closest to you are keeping secrets?" His throat went dry. The resignation letter felt like it was burning a hole through the building itself. If you're feeling the tension building, hit that like button. This story is about to get so much more complicated. "Sometimes," he whispered, hating himself for the lie. "But maybe secrets aren't always meant to hurt us." Victoria nodded slowly, but her eyes remained troubled. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sparkled with 1,000 hidden stories. Neither of them knew that in 3 days, one of those secrets would change everything. The late nights became a pattern neither of them Acknowledged. Every evening, Victoria found new reasons to stay at the office. Contract reviews that could wait until morning. Strategy sessions that somehow required Marcus's input. He told himself he was just being professional, but the truth felt more dangerous than that. Adrian thinks I work too much, Victoria confessed during their fourth consecutive late session. She sat cross-legged on her office couch, shoes kicked off, looking nothing like the intimidating executive who terrified board members. Marcus organized files nearby, trying to ignore how beautiful she looked in the soft lamplight. "What do you think?" "I think he doesn't understand what it takes to build something from nothing." Her voice carried years of frustration. "This company is everything to me. Every client, every contract, every decision matters." The resignation letter's contents echoed in Marcus's mind. Adrian wasn't just planning to leave. He was plotting to steal Victoria's 3 biggest clients. The betrayal would cripple her company within months. "Maybe he feels left out," Marcus suggested carefully. Hating himself for defending the man planning to destroy her, Victoria's laugh was bitter. "Left out? I invited him to join the company when we got engaged. He said business and romance don't mix." She picked at the hem of her skirt. "Now he barely talks to me about either." Marcus's heart ached watching her doubt herself. If only she knew that Adrian had been secretly meeting with her competitors for weeks. "You deserve someone who supports your dreams," Marcus said quietly. Their eyes met across the dim office. Something electric passed between them, a recognition that neither could name. "Do you think I'm cold?" Victoria asked suddenly. "Adrian says I care more about contracts than connections." "You're passionate," Marcus replied without hesitation. "There's nothing cold about fighting for what matters to you." Victoria smiled, the first genuine one he'd seen in weeks. "You always know exactly what to say." If she only knew how many words he was holding back. His phone buzzed with a text from Zoe's babysitter. Everything okay at home, but the weight of his double life pressed against his chest. Here he was, falling for his boss while hiding information that could save her future. "I should get home to Zoe," Marcus said reluctantly. "Of course." Victoria stood, smoothing her dress. "Marcus, thank you. For staying late, for listening. I know you have your own life to worry about." He paused at her office door. The resignation letter was probably still in her coat pocket, waiting like a ticking bomb. Every fiber of his being screamed to tell her the truth. "Victoria," he began, then stopped. What could he say? That he'd accidentally discovered her fiancé's betrayal? That he'd been keeping the secret for a week now? What is it? Comment below if you think Marcus should tell Victoria the truth. "The tension is killing us too." "Nothing," he lied. "Just be careful who you trust." The elevator doors closed between them, and Marcus leaned against the cold metal wall. Tomorrow, Adrian would probably move closer to his plan. Tomorrow, Victoria would trust her fiancé a little less. And tomorrow, Marcus would have to choose between protecting his job and protecting his heart. The truth was becoming impossible to carry alone. The announcement came during Friday's executive meeting like a thunderbolt from clear skies. Adrian Blackwell stood at the head of the conference table, his expensive suit perfectly pressed, his smile coldly professional. Victoria sat beside him, fingers intertwined with his, completely unaware that her fiancé was about to destroy everything. "I've made a difficult decision," Adrian began, his voice carrying false regret. "I'll be leaving Hartwell Industries to start my own consulting firm." Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. The resignation letter had mentioned this moment, but seeing it unfold made his stomach twist with dread. Victoria's hand tightened around Adrian's. "When?" she asked, her voice carefully controlled. 2 weeks. Adrian's smile never wavered. "And I'm pleased to announce that Meridian Corp., Stellar Dynamics, and Morrison Industries have agreed to follow me to my new venture." The conference room fell silent. Marcus watched Victoria's face crumble as the words sank in. Those 3 clients represented 60% of her company's revenue. Without them, Hartwell Industries would collapse within months. "You can't be serious," Victoria whispered. "Business is business, darling." Adrian squeezed her hand with mock affection. "You understand better than anyone." The other executives began murmuring nervously. Marcus gripped his notepad so tightly, his knuckles turned white. The resignation letter had outlined this exact scenario. Adrian had been planning this betrayal for months, using his inside access to Victoria's client relationships to build his own empire. "Those clients trusted me," Victoria said, her voice growing stronger. "They trusted this company. They trusted results." Adrian replied smoothly, "I simply offered them better terms." Marcus wanted to scream. The resignation letter contained details of Adrian's underhanded tactics, secret meetings, confidential information shared without Victoria's knowledge, promises made using insider knowledge that belonged to Hartwell Industries. But how could he reveal any of it without admitting he'd read political correspondence? "We need to discuss this privately," Victoria said, standing abruptly. The meeting dissolved into uncomfortable shuffling as executives filed out. Marcus lingered, pretending to organize papers while his heart hammered against his ribs. "You planned this whole thing," Victoria accused once they were alone. "The engagement, moving in together, gaining my trust. This was always your endgame." Adrian's mask finally slipped. "You made it easy. Always working late, always choosing business over everything else. I learned your weaknesses and used them." Marcus felt sick. Victoria had been confiding in him about Adrian's distance, never knowing her fiancé was systematically dismantling her life's work. Hit subscribe if you're as angry as we are right now. This betrayal runs deeper than anyone imagined. "I gave you everything." Victoria's voice cracked. "You gave me access," Adrian corrected. "There's a difference." After Adrian left, Victoria stood alone in the empty conference room. Marcus watched through the glass walls as her shoulders shook with silent tears. He thought about the resignation letter still hidden in her coat. Every detail of Adrian's plan was documented there. The timeline, the client meetings, the calculated manipulation. Marcus could end this nightmare with 5 words. "Check your coat pocket carefully." But those same 5 words could cost him his job, his reputation, maybe even his custody of Zoe. The woman he'd fallen in love with needed him, and he was too terrified to save her. Monday morning arrived like a death sentence. Victoria burst into the office at dawn, her usually perfect appearance disheveled. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her hands trembled as she rifled through files scattered across her desk. Marcus found her tearing through her coat pockets with desperate fury. "It's gone," she gasped, not looking up. "The letter is gone." His blood turned to ice. "What letter?" "Adrian's resignation letter." Victoria's voice cracked with exhaustion. "I had a copy in my coat pocket. All his plans, his timeline, everything was documented there. Now it's missing." Marcus's throat closed. The letter he'd accidentally discovered, the one he'd slipped back into her pocket weeks ago. She'd had evidence of Adrian's betrayal this entire time. "Maybe you misplaced it?" he suggested weakly. Victoria's laugh was hollow and terrifying. "Someone took it. Someone in this company is working with Adrian." Her eyes swept the office with paranoid intensity. "They're feeding him information, helping him destroy us from the inside." The irony crushed Marcus's chest. Victoria suspected corporate espionage when the truth was far more innocent and far more complicated. He'd been protecting her secret while she'd been protecting his access to it. "Who else knew about the letter?" Marcus asked, though he dreaded the answer. "No one." Victoria's hands shook as she opened another drawer. "I never told a soul." "Which means whoever took it has been watching me very closely." Marcus watched her unravel, knowing he held the power to end her suffering. The letter was probably still somewhere in her possession, but admitting he'd seen it meant confessing he'd invaded her privacy during that vulnerable zipper moment. His phone buzzed. A text from Zoe's school about parent-teacher conferences. His daughter's stability depended on his steady income, his clean reputation. Single fathers didn't get second chances in custody battles. "I'm calling security," Victoria announced. "Full investigation, phone records, computer access, everything." Panic flooded Marcus's system. A security investigation would scrutinize every employee interaction. They'd discover his late nights with Victoria, question his access to confidential information. Even innocent circumstances could look suspicious under investigation. "Victoria, maybe there's another explanation." "Someone betrayed me, Marcus." Her voice turned cold, executive sharp. "Someone I trusted is helping Adrian steal my clients and destroy my company. I won't stop until I find out who." The woman he loved was hunting for a traitor that didn't exist, while the real solution lay buried in secrets neither of them could admit. Marcus thought about Zoe's latest drawing, stuck to their refrigerator. A picture of them together, happy and safe. His daughter had already lost her mother to a car accident. She couldn't lose her father to a misunderstanding. About corporate espionage. If you think Marcus is making the wrong choice, let us know in the comments. Sometimes protecting the people we love means keeping painful secrets. I'll help you search, Marcus offered, hating himself for the deception. Victoria nodded gratefully, completely unaware that her loyal assistant was the key to solving everything. The security team arrived within hours. Marcus watched them dust for fingerprints on Victoria's desk while she described the missing letter in detail. Every word felt like another nail in his coffin. By evening, suspicion had poisoned the entire office. Employees whispered in corners, avoiding eye contact. Victoria trusted no one. And Marcus realized that keeping her secret had become the very thing destroying her. Tomorrow, he would have to choose between saving his job and saving her sanity. The letter was still missing, and time was running out. The crisis exploded on Wednesday afternoon like a bomb Victoria never saw coming. Adrian walked into her office without knocking, his smug confidence filling the room like toxic smoke. Behind him stood representatives from Meridian Corp, Stellar Dynamics, and Morrison Industries. Victoria's three biggest clients, the foundation of everything she'd built. "Effective immediately, we're terminating our contracts with Hartwell Industries," announced Rebecca Chen from Meridian Corp, her voice apologetic but firm. Victoria shot to her feet. "Our contracts have 6 months remaining. You can't just, actually we can." Adrian's smile was ice-cold triumph. "Check the fine print. There's a clause about leadership changes affecting service quality." Marcus felt the room spin around him. The resignation letter had mentioned this exact scenario. Adrian had planted termination clauses in the contracts months ago, preparing for this moment when he could pull the trigger and destroy Victoria's company overnight. "Leadership changes." Victoria's voice cracked. "What leadership changes?" "Your assistant here leaked confidential information about company instability." Adrian gestured toward Marcus with casual cruelty. "These clients can't risk their business with a compromised organization." The accusation hit Marcus like a physical blow. "That's not true, isn't it?" Adrian pulled out his phone, scrolling through messages. Funny how detailed information about Victoria's personal struggles found its way to her competitors. Information only someone close to her would know. Victoria's face went white. Her eyes found Marcus across the room, and he watched trust crumble in real time. "Someone's been feeding Adrian insider details about our relationship problems," Adrian continued, his voice dripping false concern. "Private conversations, emotional vulnerabilities, strategic weaknesses. Classic corporate espionage." Marcus realized with horror that Adrian was using their innocent late-night conversations as evidence of betrayal. Every moment of comfort he'd offered Victoria was being twisted into proof of treachery. "Marcus wouldn't," Victoria began, but uncertainty flickered in her voice. He's a single father with financial pressures. Adrian shrugged. I simply offered better compensation for information. Can you really blame him? The lie was so perfect, so believable, that Marcus felt reality shifting beneath his feet. Adrian had constructed a narrative where Marcus's presence during Victoria's vulnerable moments looked like calculated manipulation. I never. Marcus started. But how could he defend himself without revealing the truth about the resignation letter? Victoria stared at him, tears threatening to spill. Did you tell him about our conversations? Subscribe now because this confrontation is about to change everything forever. No, Marcus whispered. But even he could hear how weak it sounded. The clients filed out, their contracts terminated. Adrian followed, pausing at the door with theatrical regret. I'm sorry it had to end this way, Victoria. But you always said business comes first. Alone in the wreckage of her office, Victoria turned to Marcus with devastated eyes. Tell me the truth, she pleaded. Did you sell my secrets to him? Marcus stood at the crossroads of his entire future. He could maintain his lie and lose everything anyway. Or he could confess about the resignation letter and risk destroying the fragile trust between them forever. The woman he loved was falling apart, and he was the only one who could save her. Marcus stared into Victoria's broken eyes and felt his world collapse. I never betrayed you, he said quietly, but I did keep a secret. Victoria's face went pale. What kind of secret? The words stuck in his throat like broken glass. Behind her desk, family photos lay scattered where she'd swept them aside in fury. The woman he'd watched rebuild herself from nothing was falling apart, and he was the only one who could stop it. The morning I fixed your zipper, Marcus began, his voice barely audible. When the letter fell from your coat pocket, Victoria's breath caught. You saw it? I saw everything. The confession poured out like poison he'd been holding too long. Adrian's resignation, his plan to steal your clients, the timeline, the meetings, all of it. The silence stretched between them like a chasm. You knew, Victoria whispered. You knew for weeks that he was planning to destroy me, and you said nothing? Marcus stepped closer, desperation clawing at his chest. I wanted to tell you, but how could I explain reading your private correspondence? How could I admit I'd invaded your privacy? My privacy. Victoria's voice rose to near hysteria. Marcus, that letter could have saved my company. I know. The words exploded from him. You think I haven't tortured myself every single night. Watching you trust him, watching you doubt yourself. Knowing I could end your pain with 5 words. Victoria backed away from him, her face a mask of betrayal. So why didn't you? The truth felt like stepping off a cliff. Because I was falling in love with you. The confession hung in the air like a live wire. I was terrified, Marcus continued, his voice breaking. Terrified that if I told you about the letter, you'd see me as just another man who'd violated your trust. Terrified that I'd lose my job and my daughter would suffer for my mistake. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. So you let me suffer instead. I thought I was protecting you by staying close, by being there when Adrian finally showed his true colors. I never imagined he'd manipulate our friendship into evidence of betrayal. Hit that like button if your heart is breaking right now, because ours definitely is. Friendship? Victoria's laugh was hollow. You call lying to me for weeks friendship? Marcus felt everything slipping away. Victoria, please. The letter proved Adrian's been planning this for months. He's been using your relationship to gather intelligence, setting up those contract clauses, meeting with competitors behind your back. And you helped him by keeping quiet. I helped him by being a coward, Marcus admitted. But I can help you now. We can expose his fraud, prove he violated fiduciary duties, maybe even get your clients back. Victoria stared at him with devastated eyes. How can I trust anything you say? You've been lying to me since the beginning. Because I love you, Marcus said desperately. Because I love Zoe too much to risk her stability over corporate politics. Because I'm terrified of losing the only woman who's made me believe in happiness again. The office fell silent except for the distant hum of traffic below. Victoria walked to her window, her reflection ghost-like against the darkening sky. Get out. Victoria, get out of my office. Get out of my company. I never want to see you again. Marcus felt his heart shatter into pieces. What about Adrian? What about the truth? Victoria didn't turn around. I'll handle Adrian my own way, without lies, without secrets, without you. The elevator doors closed behind Marcus like the final curtain on his life's greatest mistake. But outside, Adrian was already planning his next move. 3 days of silence nearly destroyed Marcus completely. He sat in his empty apartment, staring at Zoe's worried face across the breakfast table. His daughter had stopped asking why Daddy looked so sad, but her concerned glances cut deeper than any words. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Check the news. Victoria's in trouble. The letter is still there. A friend Marcus's hands trembled as he opened the local business website. The headline made his blood freeze. Hartwell Industries faces bankruptcy as clients flee amid scandal. Victoria's company photo stared back at him, but her eyes looked hollow, defeated. The article described a corporate meltdown, following accusations of insider trading and client manipulation. Adrian's lies had spread like wildfire through their industry. Daddy? Zoe's small voice broke through his panic. Are you okay? Marcus looked at his daughter's innocent face and made the hardest decision of his life. Get your backpack, sweetheart. We're going on a mission. They arrived at Hartwell Industries to find Victoria alone in her office, surrounded by boxes. She was packing up 8 years of dreams, her movements mechanical and broken. What are you doing here? Victoria asked without looking up. Saving your company, Marcus replied, pulling out his laptop, and proving I never betrayed you. Victoria finally turned, her face gaunt with exhaustion. Marcus, I told you. The letter is still in your office, he interrupted. Adrian never found it because he never looked. He was too busy destroying you with lies. Marcus opened his laptop and began typing frantically. I spent 3 days building a timeline of every meeting, every contract clause, every manipulation Adrian orchestrated. I can prove he committed fraud. Why should I trust you? Because I'm risking everything to be here. Marcus gestured toward Zoe, who was quietly coloring at the conference table. Because my daughter's stability means nothing if I can't live with myself. Victoria's resolve wavered. Even if the letter exists, how do we prove Adrian's fraud? We call his clients right now. Together. Marcus pulled out his phone. I documented every lie he told them about you. Every false claim about company instability. Comment below if you believe in second chances, because Victoria is about to make the biggest decision of her life. For the next 2 hours, they worked side by side like they had during those late nights that felt like another lifetime. One by one, Victoria's clients learned the truth about Adrian's deception. His fabricated evidence crumbled under scrutiny. By evening, Meridian Corp had reversed their termination. Morrison Industries followed. Stellar Dynamics not only returned but brought 2 new contracts as apology for believing Adrian's lies. We did it, Victoria whispered, staring at the signed agreements. You did it, Marcus corrected. I just helped clean up my own mess. Victoria turned to face him, tears streaming down her cheeks. Why didn't you give up on me? Because love isn't about perfection, Marcus replied softly. It's about choosing someone's happiness over your own fear. Victoria crossed the room and took his hands in hers. I was wrong to cast you out. You made a mistake, but your heart was never in the wrong place. Does this mean? Marcus hardly dared to hope. It means I want to try again, honestly this time, no secrets. Marcus kissed her then, soft and careful and full of promise. Across the room, Zoe clapped her hands in delight. Like this video if you believe every love story deserves a second chance. 6 months later, Adrian's consulting firm collapsed amid fraud investigations. Victoria's company thrived with Marcus as her official partner in business and life. And sometimes the greatest love stories begin with the smallest acts of courage.